Hello all. It's my first time on film, so I'm a little nervous to say the least. Where should I start? My name is Mike Russakoff. I'm 48 years old. I was born in Queens, New York. I moved to Atlanta, Georgia in 1980 when I was 8 years old. Um, where we lived in New York, my father grew up in Brooklyn. For those of you that know or don't know, was predominantly mafia back in the day, and my father's got a million and one stories to tell. Um, Everything from he worked with my uncle, who is full-blooded Italian, Charles Tavernese. May he rest in peace. Um, and my uncle's uncle was the Joe Napolitano, and from what I understand, they were always asking, wanting my uncle to join, to be a made man, etc., etc. My father and my uncle were both, stand-up guys, good people. They didn't want to get involved in drugs and illicit activities, but they were constantly being faced with it. My dad and my uncle got my dad several jobs where they worked construction for the union, and one of these occasions, it was a Jewish holiday, and my father needed off, and the guy Joe Lioli told him, no, we got a deadline, you can't have day off. They went back and forth. So my uncle took my father to his uncle's uncle to straighten it out. My dad shows up to work a few days later after the high Jewish holiday, and was water under the bridge. Um, this was the kind of people that we grew up around with. I can remember many a days when I was young, and we would all go together on family outings and stuff, and it was usually just somebody's house that was, fairly wealthy. My uncle and father wanted to show out for us kids, so they tried to give us a good time. So we were always going to people's houses that had pools, big houses. I remember watching the Tyson fights, pay-per-view back in the day when I was a kid, and so I'm just learning more and more of this. I've been prying information from my dad for years about this, and I want to get him on a video because he's got stories for days. He owned his own cab company growing up in the early '70s, and he was going to be Charles Gambino, either Charles Gambino. Uh, he was going to be his cab driver. He was going to be his driver. It was either 5 years for 2 mil or 2 mil for 5 years. I don't remember which, but my dad tells the story, and he got whacked 2 weeks before the deal went down. So this is the kind of stuff they dealt with on the regular. Um, Back in those days, where my aunt and uncle lived in Brooklyn was one street over from John Gotti's family, and when I was 13, 14 years old, John Guy, this is before he moved to Howard Beach, before prison. I'm going back, late 70s, maybe early 80s. Yeah, middle to early 80s. And so we came back we had moved to Atlanta when I was 8, so we would go back and forth for holidays, etc. So we went to a block party. It was John Gotti's 4th of July block party, okay? And they had the streets roped off, and like I said, I was young, maybe 13, 14 years old. Me and my sister and my cousins, we rolled a trash can, like that you roll the trash out to your street, a trash can of that size. We rolled to the corner store, filled up with beer, went to the party, and was getting hammered. And like I said, I was a young kid, and all I can remember vaguely is he had the biggest speakers I've ever seen. They were playing music, and they had a stereo system going and bumping, and the speaker was so big that you had to have someone, put their hands out to help shoot you up in the air and get you on the speaker. You couldn't just jump up on it. It was that tall. I was, 13, 14. I'm only 5'5". I couldn't have got up anyways. But even the taller kids, where you clasp your hands together and your friend puts his hand between his foot between your hands and you shoot him up. We're shooting people up on the speakers. We're dancing up there, having a good time. They were shooting off fireworks, and honest to God, this true story, as they just lit off 4 mortar pipes. Okay, you come around this corner and the road's blocked off. Right, there's a rope going through it. A cop drove through the first rope. There was Once you got through the first rope, then there was 2 more ropes, one on either side, and in the middle they were lighting off fireworks. Someone lit off 4 mortar pipes at the exact same moment that this lady cop came around the corner, drove through the roadblocks, knocked over these mortar pipes. They shot off into the crowd. One bounced off the wall and almost hit a lady with a baby carriage, and it went from into just total chaos, pandemonium. Right then and there, a whole shitload of people came up to the car and they're rocking. There's probably 20, 30 guys rocking the cop car. Well, at the end of this street in Brooklyn is a cop precinct. So it was almost immediately on the other end of the block, say 100 yards away, cops come out in riot gear, billy clubs, etc., and it turned into a riot, and I sat and watched couple of thousand people fighting with the police. People were getting billy clubbed, hit over the head. The people on the streets, mostly Italian, were hitting cops over beer bottles. Like I said, a lot of cops came in riot gear, but there were a lot of cops not in riot gear and just regular, dress out. So I seen both sides getting pummeled, and it was a sight, out of a movie. I was young and a kid, and I used to carry a camera around. I had pictures of this. My pictures weren't that good, but you could see a cop reared back, about to swing on a billy club on a guy, and you see a guy walking by. It doesn't give a good, but you see the police car, and him swinging on a guy, right? I had this crazy lunatic girlfriend in my middle to late 20s, and she burned all my pictures. My whole childhood went up in flames. So, the proof I have is my parents, my sister. I have people that'll vouch for anything I say, because a lot of shit I've been through and done is just, never heard of. To me, honestly, sounds like a lie and bullshit. That's why when I tell some of my stories, I'm going to bring my friends on and let them vouch. So this shit was going on. They were rioting. Police was fighting with the mob, and this is being filmed live overhead on the news from a chopper. Right. This is on the news as it's going on in real time, and I go back to my aunt and uncle's, and my sister stays. She doesn't go with us, and so my sister comes back 11, 12 o'clock at night, and my parents are furious. So my dad, for the first time in his life, put his hands on my sister. He started beating my sister. I jumped on his back. I broke him up. I pulled him off of her, and so that sticks him. It sticks out in my head pretty vivid. So that goes on, okay, and we go back home. Well, during this time, my dad moved us from New York to Atlanta in 1980, okay. When he did, his sister, Sherry Tavernese, she got mad, she got jealous, she got upset. She looked at it as he was leaving her to raise grandma. Right, he was bailing out on his family, so she cut ties with us. Long story short, and even to this day, I haven't seen my cousin and talked to my aunt and uncles since I was 13, 14 years old. I'm 48. I haven't seen her, talk to him in three decades. So because of that, I haven't been able to. I've been trying to find, the street names, etc. it's a dead issue. I bring this up. My family, they tell me, they don't want me to talk to my aunt. It's not my family's fault neither. My dad sent my grandmother money up until uh, her my entire life until she passed away. Little did my aunt know. My dad used to take care of my mom, but anyway, she had this horrible grudge. She didn't treat my dad, her, and my grandma used to give my dad a hard time when they were growing up. They used to give my grandpa a hard time growing up. My grandfather was an alcoholic, so but my dad never drank. He never took drugs, but that wasn't the case for me. So fast forward a year or two now at 15, I'm starting to experiment with drugs. I'm in high school. I'm having a hard time with it, and so I start doing some coke with this kid. Was real depressed. I attempted suicide. I told this girl that I was a childhood friend slash girlfriend. I told her what was going on. Little did I think anything of it. She told her school at school. Her school called my school. She was in 8th grade. I was in 9th grade. Uh, they took me and they put me in rehab. First, they put me in a country club. This place was, nice. Pretty much a country club for kids. But you couldn't go home at night. And it was a good and bad experience for me. I met the largest acid dealer in my high school at the time. I met the rehab. I met a couple other people. There was crazy stories and stuff around all the people that went to this place. Most of them had charges. Most of them were sent there with probation. Da 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 da. So I was in there about 6 months, right? And my parents' insurance ran out. Okay, so we went from me being able to afford to stay there, and I don't know what this place was, but it was crazy sick money. And so after like 6 months, my parents' insurance ran out, so they had to let me go. I went home, and I was going back during for day patient, right? So I start going to the day, and I'm there a couple months, and I'm in a small class. There's 5 of us. I think it was either 2 girls and 3 guys, or 3 guys, 2 girls. I don't remember. But anyways, one of the guys I was in there with was in there for being a perfectionist. Okay, um, he was the head quarterback at his high school. He was dating like the Valley Victorian or whatever the fuck they call it. He was, and the kid already had a scholarship in high school. He already had a football scholarship. Okay, this kid couldn't have, had a better life, but his dad had pushed him and pushed him. Was a perfectionist, like I say, he can never be happy. So one day he goes home and he blows his fucking head off with a shotgun. And this was on the news, and I would go back to the next day after this, and they assume because this guy killed himself in Woodland classroom, they now put me on inpatient on suicide watch. I was already free, had been going home, etc., etc. So they take me in again. They strip me naked, put me in what they put you under suicide watch. You wear a gown, so you have no underwear, no shoestrings, nothing you can hang yourself with, right? So they did that, put me in a gown, and I'm walking around now on this floor where I just been, in rehab for 6 months, and now they're telling me I can't do this, I can't do that. So I was on the phone with my girlfriend and a girl who I'd met, a guy who I'd been in there with, and his sister came to see him. Da 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 da. I was on the phone with my girlfriend, and they came over and said, "You're on suicide watch. You can't be on the phone." I said, "No, fuck that." So I bucked on, and I wouldn't go to my room, and I wouldn't do what they said. So they subdued me, put me in a straitjacket, put me in the funny room. Uh, yeah, they really have a room with padded walls, and it's some crazy shit. So I dealt with that and got out okay after being in there for a week. I come home, and then my parents put all these laws and rules on me and tell me basically, I can't go outside. I'm grounded. I'm pretty much, uh, on house arrest. I said, no, fuck that. I've had enough. I ran up to my room, locked myself in my room, locked the door, busted out my bedroom window, which had a roof right outside the window. Got on the roof, crawled down, ran down to my best friend growing up's house. I'm down there about 30 minutes. Here comes the police. They came, they got me. My parents had called my doctor, and my doctor told them this was, some kind of breakthrough, but I needed immediate observation. So after not being able to go back to, country club rehab, they took my ass to State Mental Hospital, where during this 2 week observation, I watched two people try to kill themselves. One guy punched the mirror, and those mirrors are not like real glass, but they're sharp as glass. He busted a mirror, got a piece of glass, slashed his wrists up. Blood was spewing at. I literally had to back up because blood was spewing at me like you see in the movies, like something crazy, gnarly shit. And I watched the other kid hanging from the sprinkler head, and those visions still to this day haunt me. 35 years later. So I get to go home from there, da 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 da. So then I go back to school. Life's somewhat normal. I, I was a skater at 15. I think I've told Ryan the house I grew up in was the third house in the neighborhood being built. Okay, so my neighborhood was brand new. It was construction everywhere. So in the middle of the night, me and this kid Todd, this older guy from Santa Cruz, told me we could build a half pipe. So we snuck out this whole summer and loaded plywood in 2x4s on our skateboards and took them to my house in the middle of the night. So I had half pipe in my backyard, and we did that. And I had one guy, my parents made everybody sign wagers, so if you didn't have a wager, you couldn't ride the ramp. One of the kids in the neighborhood, his parents wouldn't sign the wager, so of course he was mad and hating it, so hated on me and trashed my ramp. Fast forward to my early teens. Like I said, I met the biggest acid dealer from our school district through rehab and started tripping, eating mushrooms. Mushrooms and trip was relevant. It was easily available at the high school I went to, which I know there again is going to sound like a lie, but was literally labeled the most drug populated school period in the nation. You can have a friend, Jason Pardo. Okay, I was doing a house a few weeks ago. It was actually about a month or two ago, and I ran into a guy I went to school with, and first thing he said to me, he says, yeah, da-da-da, our school was the #1 drug school in the nation. And I said, thank God for that. I am crazy, but I'm not batshit crazy. When I tell a story, it's truth, it's facts. I ain't about no bullshit. Anyways, so drugs were prevalent. I love trip, I love mushrooms. Did that. Did them whenever I possibly could. Da-da-da-da-da. Those were some of the wildest, craziest moments of my life. And when I was mid-teens, maybe, it had to be mid-teens. Anyways, I saw Alice in Chains at the Masquerade in Atlanta, and I was on 2 hits of acid, and I was crowd surfing, right? And Masquerade's a small venue. It's like a small room. Alice in Chains wasn't even that big at that point, but it was what I'm saying is the stage was like right there, and everyone was real close. It was only, a couple hundred people. It wasn't a big old huge thing, so I'm trying to, give you a good picture of this. A room, say, that could hold 200 people. The stage is like just a regular deck, nothing fancy. He's leaning over and he's singing Wood, and I'm crowd surfing. I get thrown at him. I'm tripping on acid now. I headbutt him. I break his fucking nose. Yes, Lane Stanley. I broke his fucking nose with my head. He's gushing blood while he's singing Wood. He never skipped a beat. I'm sitting there tripping out, wondering, if this is all real or not. And all the people that were holding me let go. I fell out of, thin air. Everyone left. I hit the floor. I remember that. And I was getting trampled and I was getting kicked. I remember seeing Doc Martens in my face. People were kicking me. And I was trying to get up and out of it, and I couldn't. I'm 5'5", and most of the guys, 6 foot, whatever. It was a brawl in there, okay? And this bouncer just reaches down, grabs me up, picks me up, takes me out of there. And, thank God my friend Donovan Bickford was there. This kind of shit sounds like a lie, but I promise to God it was true facts. So those are probably my two best stories that I can think of. Being a John Gotti block party turned riot, fabulous. And like I said, though, my parents and my family don't talk, so we haven't spoken in 30 years. My uncle has passed away, my grandma's passed away, but my aunt and my cousin, they still preside, and I would love to talk to them, chat with them, etc. I've looked my aunt up on Facebook, and, the way it's been done, for my dad's wishes, and I'm going to honor his wishes, leave him alone. When he goes to heaven, I'll reach out to him at that point, if they even want to, is what it is. On to my early 20s. So, 22 years old, 21, 22, I start smoking crack, hitting the streets, doing that. Met this girl as a stripper. In between that and meeting I met this other guy, right? So I'm out in Buckhead one night, and I run into this girl I'm friends with. I met her and her girlfriend in the parking lot at the Stone Temple Pilots concert. I'm 48 now, in my 20s. This is how I met this chick, anyways. Her and her girlfriend, she was a hair cutter, dresser. Her girlfriend was a stripper. Met him in the parking lot. Went home with him from the concert. End of story. I run into her in Buckhead one night. So I go off with her. We go to her dealer's house, this Chinese guy, get coke. Start doing coke all the time. The guy started calling me, and I started doing rides with him. Okay, taking him on runs. I take him on his runs. He's got 2 prostitutes. Start running with prostitutes. He winds up getting busted. He takes off. They extradite him back. He was Oriental. I don't remember exactly where they sent him back to. He was extradited. The girl still needed a runner, so I became their runner. Run to a bunch of crazy shit. Fast forward till my 40s. I'm married. I go to jail. I see this guy. 20 plus years later. He don't recognize me. Just goes to show everything's full circle. Anything that happens in your life, that's happened in my life, especially if you have disabilities like a.d.d. like I do, things come around, coincidences are godsends. And so anyhow, fast forward, I get out of jail. I seem to go to jail every 10 years. It has something to do that goes along with people with a.d.d. We're prone for destruction. So that's what I can say on that. And I've been to jail so many times, and I've hurt my family so many times, fucked up so many times. The drugs, the things I've done to my loved ones is, uncalled for. But luckily, thank God for me, I have a little unique, different kind of story than maybe your average user or whatever. I didn't even know about opiates until my late 40s, okay? So I got to raise my son before knowing what dealing with opiate addiction was like. I traveled when my son was born. I first got married in 2000. My son was born. So he got to be 17 years old before I fell to addiction. Um, I smoked crack, I smoked weed, I ate ecstasy on the weekends. But for most of my child's life, I was a functional addict. Okay, we got by. I did always work. I had to go out of town a lot to pay the bills. Da 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 da. Me and my family always had a roof over our head. Thank the good Lord. And so I can say that. So fast forward to about my son's 16. Let's say I'm 48. Let's say when I was about 35. It's been more than 10 years. Um, maybe 10 to 15 years ago. Um, I come home from work one day, and my neighbor comes running over to me. Okay, hang on a second. I met this guy J-Bone. I worked with this guy. Okay, I'm behind on my rent. He tells me about a house that's for rent right next door to him. So long story short, we pack up, move to Beverly. Next to this guy, didn't know what kind of person he was. They were complete shit bags. They stole all kind of shit from me. Before I even moved in, I took a box over there and it had crystals that I had gotten as wedding presents and family presents. I collected crystals and had all kind of neat, beautiful ones. That they stole that before we moved in. We moved in, da 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 da, and one day I get home and my neighbor comes running over, my neighbor's wife, and says, there's been a problem here today. Yeah, your boy's got in a huge fight. Um, you need to call your wife. So I call my wife, find out they're fighting. Say, all right, come home. You need to come home. Let me deal with them. Hear the story. Okay, so they get home, and I find out my son, my biological son, is Colin Matthew Russakoff. He's now 21. My stepson is Zachary Jones. He's 22. The older one was picking on the younger one. The younger one picked up a long metal pipe, beat his older brother with it. Then that's when the neighbor came over, got my wife. My wife came over there. Then the older one tells my wife, "Fuck you, bitch," and goes running down the street. We just moved on to this new house, but it was on a main road. So going out into the street was, the worst of the worst. I come home, hear all this. I don't have a choice. I tell them, drop them. They had been acting up. So this is, you've got to get an ass whooping, period. Ass. I'm busting you with an ass, period. Deal with it. My son, the younger one, he dropped his pants. I spanked him. It was done and over with. Moved on. My stepson, I said, drop him. He says, fuck you. I get down. I put my knee on his back, and I'm going to try to pull his pants down because I'm going to whoop him bare ass with my belt on the ass. He's fighting with me. He sticks his head in the carpet, and he's kicking, and he's screaming, and he gives himself rug burn, okay? So, I left a belt mark on both of them. I'll admit that. I'm sorry for that. I paid for mine, but I left a belt mark. But with Zach's face, he looked like, I beat it looked worse than it was. My sister-in-law comes over the next day, sees this, calls the police. I go to jail. Okay, this makes my second violent. Fast forward to when me and my wife first got together in 2000. We got in a screaming confrontation. I went to jail just because my kids were in the house. Made it child abuse charges. Simplified, but that's basically what it is. Cruelty to children. They were in their bed asleep. They never saw or heard nothing. Ridiculous. Okay, so now fast forward. Now they're charging me with aggravated assault, first degree. First degree on these kids. I'm looking at 7 to 10. I It took a year to go to court. Um, I was in the worst part of the jail while I was in there. Of course, I've been to jail several times, and every time I ever did, you're gonna fight. You fight. I got my rib broke when I was in jail, and I had gotten a black eye. My wife's cousin's wife came to see me, saw how bad a shape I was in. This was a lying, manipulative woman to begin with, so let me say that. Um, Calls, tells my parents Michael's in bad shape. They come down, see me. They're scared for my life, so they contact my aunt and uncle. My uncle's a lawyer from New York, and so they get the money. They bond me out. It's $4 grand plus. Um, my bond originally was 75,000 when I first went in. I had to wait a couple weeks to get a bond reduction. So after being there for 2 months, I get bonded out. Part of my bond conditions is to stay away from my wife, right? Of course, I'm not going to be able to do that. My wife's in a rehab, though. My children are safe. My wife's uncle was a very wealthy man. First off, he built $1 million neighborhood by himself with no investors on his own. This was during the stock market, the housing market crash, 2007, whenever it was. He had just built in this neighborhood. They were 700,000 to $1 million houses that were having to be sold for 350,000. Back to the story. He had money. When I went to jail, my wife, I was the main supporter. My wife didn't work. She's a stay-at-home mom. So had been on pills. She'd been on prescribed Xanax for crazy shit that's happened to her. Ryan knows the story. I can't put it out there what's happened to her. But she's been through the worst of the worst, okay? So she was on Xanax. When I went to jail, she had to go to a treatment center. My boys went to a place, a group home where my uncle's on the board and sees over this whole place. It's called Christian City. It's this big, nice place in Atlanta for kids. My wife's uncle pays for a lot of shit. My kids were in good hands. She was in rehab, so we didn't speak for 3 months. No word back and forth, nothing. I wouldn't have been allowed to if it was found out that I contacted her, spoke with her. We're supposed to be like kind of co-defendants, on either side of the board. So we didn't speak for 3 months. So my wife's crazy cousin's wife got us kind of together, set it up, got us together, and we got back together, pulled her out of rehab. She was living with me with the guy I had just met in jail, who became immediate best friends with, who OD'd and died himself soon after. But anyhow, so I pull her out of rehab. When I do, this girl that had got us back together and turned around and stabbed us both in the back. When I was in jail, she told me my wife was cheating on me, which wound up being a lie. And because of, I probably did some things that I never would have been. Faithful man, our whole marriage for 20 years. That's the kind of crazy shit this bitch did. Told me my wife was cheating on me, had me fucked up in the head. So when I got out, me and my buddy that I met, we was going out every weekend. He was taking me out. He was taking care of me. I was down. I was down on my luck. You know what I'm saying? I just gotten out of jail. I lost everything. Everything. I did jobs. I do construction. I'm a carpenter. I traded a job one time, finished a basement for this dining room table set and china cabinet. That was the bomb to die for. 7 to 10 grand piece. Beautiful. The shitbag neighbors, that supposed friend that I had that got me moved into this house, come to find out, every time someone would come and go, they got the proceeds. So this house was like, it had a demonic print on it, okay? Like every family that had been to this house had wound up with the guy going to jail. Just how it was. So he gets all of this. This guy's, he's some of the lowest of the low. Gets all my shit. Wipe me out. Okay, whatever. I've learned my lesson. Material don't mean shit to me anymore. that all went to hell. Um, Me and my wife were just getting back together, and this crazy bitch calls my family and tells them me and my wife are back together. Okay, so now my aunt's on my bond. Now my aunt comes off my bond. Okay, now I got bondsmen following my ass around. Right, crazy shit. So when you think you're being followed, whatever. Well, the crazy shit was I knew I was being followed, and it was scary as fuck. And I seen this white SUV when I moved. I moved when I first got out of jail. I went to my parents' house. I stayed there for a month. They helped me. They took me back and forth to work. I got a vehicle. I got the fuck out. I went and stayed with my boy Mike Adams, who I had met. And so I brought my wife with me, right? So remember this for later in the story. When I was at Mike Adams, my wife was still in rehab. We were writing each other letters back and forth, okay? Those same two addresses, whatever her was in Sandy Springs and whatever his was in Marietta, okay? Those two addresses were prevalent. So, my bond, my wife my aunt comes off my bond. I go, have to turn myself in. Bondsman called me up one night. He said, my parents, you're not where you, supposedly bond out to. I said, no, I got it straightened out. I'm staying at a buddy's house. It didn't matter. They'd come off my bond. He said, if I tell you what, okay, so we were staying at my buddy's house. I got a job in Roswell that my buddy hooked me up with that I had just met in jail. Got me a job that was coincidentally a few miles from where my wife was in rehab. So the place where I cashed my check was right next to where my wife was staying previously. Like, we were going to meet by period. God, higher force, whatever, we were bound to find each other. This is how coincidental this crazy shit was. I got a job right next to where she was living at, okay? And and for 3 months, I had no fucking idea where she was, okay? Wishing I did, wanted to be able to talk to her, find out if we were still cool, whatever. So we moved, okay, so I got a job now in Roswell, but I'm having car issues. Well, we have a car, but she works in Roswell too, but Mike lives in Marietta, so I get a hotel. We have to stay in a hotel in Roswell, so we're both close to work, yada, yada, yada. The fucking bondsman's driving around. Each night I'm seeing a white SUV with blackouts in the windows. The bondsman's after me. So that night I get a call from him. He says, Mr. Russakoff, you're not at your parents' house. Da, 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 da. I said, I'm cool, whatever. He says, well, I tell you what, I got proof that you guys are together, and if you don't turn yourself in or meet me, then you've got to sign some papers. We got to revamp this. We have to get together, and you've got to sign some papers because you're, and if you don't, I'm putting that you've been around your wife, which is, I can't remember the legal term. I could tell you some other point. I was in violation. He was going to put charges on me for just being around my wife. So I met up with him the next day. I wasn't even sure he lied to me. I didn't know for sure I was going to jail, but I was pretty sure. I even had a good friend of mine who I just ran into, my best friend at 19. I ran into this guy coincidentally within this 2-month period. I happened to run into my best friend when I was 19, 20 years old, because the universe knew I needed him. He lived 2-3 miles from my parents, which was a great help for what I needed to take care of and do. He made sure I got back to probation, community service, and it took a month to get a car, but I still had all the shit to do, right? So he fell into my lap. So anyways, I have John's wife follow me the next day to meet the bondsman. I can't remember. My wife remembers. She can't. We're not supposed to be. We supposedly weren't around each other. So my buddy's wife meets us in the parking lot. She watches me go to jail. It took a year. I spent 6 months in, and they put me. There's two pods in the jail. One is K, one is L pod. Those are the two worst pods in the jail, right? The rest are minor dorms. Those are all felonies. The first time I was in was K pod, the worst of the worst. That's where I met Mike Adams. Okay, who comes deeply in my story was put in place to help, and I'll explain why shortly. That would tell you, damn, yeah, some things don't make sense. So I go to jail for 6 months. Remember, I'm not allowed to have contact with my wife. We don't speak for the entire 6 months. I call her, leave like this jailhouse. I love you. She hits a couple buttons. That's it. We don't speak. We know nothing. For anyone that's ever been involved in being in jail and being in a relationship, Ryan will tell you, it's murder. It's hell. We've been through that. I get out. The day I get out, okay, let me pause for a minute, right? Okay, when I get out the first time, I go with my parents out to dinner, okay? I run into my best friend from when I was 19, 20 years old, who now lives, he had moved, he went back to Chicago where he's from, was out there, went to school, got in computers, yada, yada, yada. He comes back, he's told his wife, he's made, and there again, his name's John Dadian, his wife's name's Jerry Dadian. I can show the proof. So I meet them coincidentally at an Italian restaurant, right? Where I'll eat, me and my parents, John and his family. And I'm sitting there eating and look over and I'm like, and then I see him. I was like, holy shit, that's John. He looks just like John Dadian. Okay, now I'm 35. I haven't seen him. I'm 35, 36. I haven't seen him since I was 21. When I was 21 or 22, he moved back to Chicago. Haven't seen him since. Noticed him at a corner of my eye. And his wife, I hear him whisper to him, hey, that guy over there, I think he's staring at you. Did you know him? You know, being weird. And he looks over, and my parents loved this guy too. It was like I had like just two or three good friends, that my parents really liked. But John Day, and they loved this guy, right? Here he is. Is that Rusty Combo? I said, oh shit, no way. They used to call me Rusty Combo. We played pool. I used to do all kind of crazy ass trick shots. I used to be able to do shots where I had my hands behind my back and was doing jump shots. They call me Rusty Combo. Anyways, he says Rusty Combo and shit, and this girl goes, Rusty Combo, the Rusty Combo, yeah, and he says, yeah, oh my god, and he gives me a hug, daps me up and shit. My parents are, thrilled too, and she says, you're the Rusty Combo? I said, yeah, and she looks at me and she's like, she's puzzled, and I said, yeah, why? And then we're talking. Okay, so then we exchange information. We finish eating dinner. I had just gotten out of jail. I think it was the day after I got out of jail. Okay, really down on my luck. My car was gone, everything. I had nothing, right? So we meet them, I call him up. He comes, picks me up. I go to his house. We're chilling, doing our thing, cutting some stress. They get to talking, and she's sitting there telling me all this Rusty Combo shit, okay? I know a lot of people say this, and then again, you say they're full of shit. You hear all the time, guys were ballers, guys bang mag chicks. I did that, okay? She tells me, Rusty Combo, she said, you should show the shit John says about you. He's telling me about the black book. Back in my day, there's no cell phones, nothing. This is before pagers. She's telling me the story that she's heard a million times about how this guy just had it going on, would go get his black book and thumb through it, and all of a sudden we was on our ways to some hot chicks' houses. She didn't understand it, nobody could explain it, but that's what I was known for. Everyone else was, playing football, watching football, whatever. I was the guy that had to have a girlfriend. I had to have a good looking girl at all times. I have ADD. It's something that's just prevalent. I think after meeting Ryan and seeing the way he is, his mannerisms, everything about him is like a younger me. We have a lot of the same traits. Um, Insecure, codependent, uh, all that kind of shit, all right? Kind of fruity in the head in some aspects, you know. We just go through some crazy ass shit. My thing was fucking chicks. I didn't care about nothing else. Even before hard drugs was even a thing, that was my fix. So he's telling me, this girl's telling me about this black book that I said, damn, I appreciate that. You know what? I like put that out there. Because, like I said, a lot of people say it, but I've been blessed, okay? I've been through some wacky ass crazy shit in my day. But one thing, I may not have always been a baller as far as financially, but when I was younger, I had my way with over 100 very good looking women. That's all can say. I'm married now. I love my wife. She's beautiful. We've been through hell together. I'm surprised she's still with me. I'm surprised she puts up with my ass, to tell you the truth. I'm blessed. She's stuck by my side through thick and thin. You couldn't ask for any better. You couldn't. She's an amazing woman. So I go to jail the day I get out. Part of the deal was the deal with me and my family. Now at this point, this is the second time that she's, in their eyes, she's physically put me in jail twice now. Family don't want nothing to do with her, okay? Some other bad shit came up the first time I went to jail. Water under the bridge now. We don't. We forgive and forget, okay? But my parents and my aunt never forgot. My aunt, I got one aunt that's an aunt and uncle that's on my mom's side. That uncle, my uncle Kenny, he's a lawyer. Comes from a family of lawyers in New York. Jewish bred. We're Jewish. My other aunt and uncle is the one that's Italian. That's my dad's side. My dad's sister married an Italian guy who's his uncle, like I said, was Joe Napolitano, the Joe Napolitano. And what else? Okay. So the day I step out of jail, my dad picks me up from jail, okay? And my wife's in the same hotel now from when we moved from my buddies to Roswell. She stays behind when I go to jail, keeps herself up, takes care of herself for the first time in her life, 100%, no help at all. It may be a hotel, but she's got a roof over her head and she's not fucking nobody, right? So, the day I get out, my dad picks me up from jail and says, "Where you going, kid?" This is the first time my family's ever said, "We love you, but you're not staying with us. We're taking you somewhere." You know, the deal was that, you know, they spoke with my aunt. When my aunt came down here, and my aunt came down December, the same time that I went to jail the first time for just fighting with my wife, and went to jail because of cruelty to children, because the kids were in the house. Crazy shit. My aunt came down here during that. Some shit went down. Not good shit. Fast forward many years into the future. Um, my aunt comes down again. She's down here again now. It's same old shit. You know, Michael still ain't learned same old shit type shit. Okay, so to this day, you know, not water under the bridge with them. They hold regrets. You know, is what it is. My parents learned to look the other way, but you know, they didn't get along. My aunt didn't get along, didn't want to get along, don't care to get along. but we're all still family. Get out of jail, go. So my dad says, "Where you going?" I said, "I guess to John's house, right?" I just met John again, okay? I just ran into him coincidentally right when I got out of jail. Coincidentally, crazy type shit. So he was helping me out, and I'm saying, my parents are old. I couldn't expect them to be doing everything for me. So I get out of jail the first time, right? First time I get out of jail, I save my money, I get a car. I go to jail the second time. The car sits at my sister's house the whole time in jail. She never cranks it once. I get out of jail, have to get my license reinstated. I've missed out. I've missed redoing my license for the year, yada yada, whatever. My car sat at my sister's for 6 months and she never cranked it. It fried the electrical system, so I'm without a ride. So now I'm needing people, I'm needing friends and help. I gotta go to probation, I got community service, I've got anger management classes. I had like 3 different classes that had to be taken care of. I had unimaginable shit to do all at the same time to stay out of jail, right? I had to do I had 240 hours community service, had to take anger management classes, parenting classes, and something else at the same time. Mad shit. Most people would have gone to jail. You know, it was really hard to deal with it. To accomplish all this, I had to work 6 days a week, and on my 7th day, I had to go to community service, which I had to walk 1.5 miles each way in the summertime. This is my last day. This is my 1 day off. I do construction 6 days a week. On my 7th day, I'm walking 3 miles in the heat during Georgia summer. Crazy shit. I couldn't do it this day and age. Fast forward 12 years ago, I couldn't do it now. I'd probably drop from a stroke. So I've been through a lot of heartache, tough situations. That probation shit, it was mad crazy. It strengthened me. It made me a better person. It humbled me in a lot of ways. I was a very selfish individual. I had done a lot of shit that I regret. If I could tell the younger me, I would tell him just to stop. Just to stop. Be happy with just smoking a joint if that's it. If that's what it is. Be happy with a couple of beers. Be happy with just having a girlfriend. Be happy that you could just pass a grade. That you could just accelerate with no problems at school. Because for guys like us, that was a huge problem. But there's so many kids out there so smart and bright, and it comes easy to them. And I admired that. A lot of it at a young age. I spent most of my teens more caring about my looks because I wasn't as smart as all the rest of the kids. You know, I'm just keeping it real. You know, most of my friends were in, advanced math, advanced this, advanced that. I wasn't. I was below average. LD, ADD. It's hell. And at 15 years old, when I started dealing with the shit and just going to class was embarrassing. Was humiliating. I would duck out till the last minute. I'd wait till the bell was about to ring before I'd go into class because I didn't want to be seen. I was at the door before the bell rang. I was at the door and didn't care what the teacher thought. I was getting out of there and going to walk out and blend in and not get caught coming out of the LD class. I wasn't doing it. People knew it, but I wasn't willing to admit it and accept it myself. Just what it was. So, fast forward through the years in life, what I've learned and see, my disease, my chemical imbalance, very well could be what some people call brilliant art. Have made it because I've learned probably more about ADD being Ryan's friend this past year. He's taught me a lot about myself. Like, he's opened my eyes to a lot of shit and made me realize how so similar we are in these crazy ass things that are identical about us. I mean, some of them, a lot of them are not pretty, are embarrassing. He puts it out there in a brilliant way. I'm not willing to put it out there, you know, for whatever reason. That's just not me. But it's real. It's there. Um, us people with ADD, we can all relate on levels that most people couldn't fathom. But the thing about it is, the most brilliant minds have had of got people have had ADD. Edgar Allan Poe, Benjamin Franklin, the list goes on and on. That were proven facts that had ADD. We're like brilliant artists, but we really don't feel like we see eye to eye. We feel alienated. We feel like we're alone. And Ryan's made me not feel that. Like, wow, there's other people out there that just like me and doing it big. Congrats. I admire the shit out of what Ryan's doing. I've gotten to know him this past year, and I think he's a fucking brilliant human being. I admire the fuck out of what he's done. And he's made me, for the first time in my life, look in the mirror and really discover who I am. Um, I always glamored on the fact that maybe I'm not good looking anymore, but back in my day, I was a good looking guy, okay? And I knew it. But at the same time, I knew I was, I had to play on that because I couldn't have, I couldn't get an A plus in the best grade. I wasn't the smartest guy. So I had to use that I was good looking. And at a younger age, I just thought it, assumed it. But what really started boasting my head is girls telling it to me. When I was my senior year, we did what was called the yearbook signing, okay? And we all got together in the gymnasium and we're signing each other's yearbooks. There was this girl that was in my class. She was LD too, but she was beautiful. She was hot. I had a crush on her. We were in class together all through high school, okay? And I had a crush on her, but I never pursued it. Well, on this yearbook signing, she came up and tells me, you know what? I've had a crush on you this whole time. I've what? Da 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 da. And I was blown away. I was like, I had not been seeing what I guess this girl was seeing. I look in the mirror and I see ADD, and I see a guy that can't figure out geometry, ain't getting it on these college courses. Maybe we'll never get it. That's what I see when I look in the mirror. And then this girl tells me this. I've had a crush on you this whole time. I'm thinking, this is the girl I've had a crush on my whole time. I could have done this. Wow, I really could have done this. So I opened my eyes that, maybe there's more to it than just being a top geometry student in my class, being the top graduate. I'm going to have to take a different route. And from that day forward, I pursued attractive women, and it was just my thing. It's what I wanted. And if I didn't have it, I was not a happy person. I couldn't sit at home alone. I couldn't do it. If I sat at home alone on the weekend, I would. A lot of people would do it and play video games or whatever. It wasn't a party every single weekend. The times that there wasn't a party and I was home alone, I was fucking miserable. My mom would go I was allowed to drink at home, even at a young age. Okay, when I was 15, 16, if I was staying home and I wasn't going anywhere, my mom would go to the store and get me a six-pack of Killian's Red and sit home, get drunk, and play Transylvania, whatever. Smoke one and chill out. I wasn't happy at all. You know, I was happy when I had a girlfriend. I was happy when I was around pretty girls. Then I was happy. And anything else that I could do could mask that I wasn't having it. So that's what I made number one. And besides that, a lot of us a.d.d guys were clumsy and coordinated at the same time. We are clumsy. We will trip over our own feet. We will drop our phone. Drop our phone. Tell me Ryan don't drop his fucking phone. I know for a fact he does. We drop our phone. But at the same note, we're clumsy. We're also coordinated. Because I was good and accelerated sports-wise in anything I invested in. I was very good at tennis. I was very good at baseball growing up. I started playing baseball at a young age, right? I started playing baseball when we moved down here when I was like 8, okay? I played for this outfit, East Marietta, okay? East Marietta. In 1994, our organization, East Marietta, was an organization that was, a bunch of teams ranked according to your age. We played Japan in the Little League World Series in 1984. It was televised on TV. You can look that shit up. East Marietta Little League played Japan on TV, and we won. Okay, those kids that won from our organization, I was in the minor league. Okay, they were the major league team. This is real. Sounds like bullshit. Promise to God, I'm telling you the truth. Okay, our team was the minor league team. We were the 11-year-olds. We played the 12-year-olds. The team that went and won the World Series, Little League World Series, we played them in a scrimmage game, okay? Played them in a baseball game. And I hit 3 in a row. Sorry, I ate a popsicle earlier and the Tootsie Rolls all over my lip. Anyways, we played them in a scrimmage game, right? And against the pitcher was Scott. It was either Scott or Mark Pachota, right? He was the kid that pitched the game. He was 6 years old at 12 years old. He pitched a 93 or 94 mile an hour fastball at 12 years old, okay? I hit 3 over the fence in the scrimmage game against this kid. This kid, Scott or Mark Pachota, who pitched the game against Japan. He got 2 Major League Baseball deals right there on the spot. One from the Cincinnati Reds, and I don't remember the other one. But this thing was televised, like I said, and this kid was, hot shit. At 12 years old, he was getting drafted at 2 majors. And I hit 3 over the fence against him. 1 went barely foul. 1, out center field, it hit his glove and bounced in. It was technically over the fence, but he almost caught the ball, but he dropped it. Okay, he dropped it. I got to second base. And I put my hand up, and some bullshit, but like there again, honest to God. And I go over to get my helmet, rounding first. I lost my helmet, and I didn't time out. And the second baseman comes over with the ball in his glove and touches me as I'm going to retrieve my hat, and they consider me out. Okay, I hit 3 in a row over this kid. Had pitched my perfect pitch straight down the middle fastball, so that was phenomenal. So I played baseball up until I was early teens, okay, and I switched school districts. When I was in 5th grade, I used to break dance, okay, and we had a talent show for our school. And my girlfriend, who happened to be the prettiest girl in the school, Brandy Elliott. Those of you that know me or know her, yeah, we were. That was my first girlfriend, fifth grade. She entered the talent show. I entered talent show. I had pictures of us. I had pictures of this. Like I said, I had a crazy ass girlfriend years later in years that burned a whole stack of my pictures, my best pictures. So I was in fifth grade in this one school, Brumby, and that's when we first moved here from New York. We we moved from there into the house I grew up in. So we switched schools to districts. When I switched and went to Mabry, to Lassiter District, um, I was teaching the kids in the middle school. I was teaching the older kids how to break dance. Okay, so by a lot of people wanted to be my friend just because I knew how to break dance. And I was teaching all these kids, right? So between that and baseball, all the more popular guys, the jocks and the whatever, most of those guys I played baseball with growing up. So between baseball and breakdancing, I had a good name for myself going into high school. Um, but I also had a bad name at the same time because coming into my own, I was depressed and felt like I needed to overcompensate by you know by learning to fight and starting fights because I was picked on in middle school. Okay, I was a small kid. I'm 5'5", still now fully grown. I was picked on a lot in middle school, and I remember a kid punched me one time, and it hurt. It hurt deep to the depths of embarrassment. I wasn't gonna. That wasn't gonna be me. So when I got into high school, and the first time I was picked on, I snapped. And and went overboard. Started to pick fights. I was a little guy bully. I have to admit it now, shithead. But back then, um, I was angry and bitter at the world, at my parents, at the universe. Why was I plagued with this? This ADD. Um, I was given drugs at a very young age. I was put on Ritalin at 5 years old, and that alone, you know, made me think that I had to have a pill every day that I wake up. I had to have a drug, just programmed that way. Imagine getting Ritalin, which is speed, at 5 years old. It had me a geek monster as a little kid. So, like I said, thank God I didn't learn what opiates was until I was in my 40s. Fast forward all these years later, one thing led to another. My mother-in-law, my wife's mother, died of cancer. When she did, before she passed, my wife's mother was not a very good woman, okay? She had done pills her whole life. Her grandpa, my wife's grandpa, her mom let her dad baby her whole life. She never grew up, okay? She took pills from the day she was teenager, whatever, her whole life. She was just like a little kid, so she was feeding my wife pills, and one thing led to another, and I took my first Percocet, and I loved it, and it was all she wrote for a person that was programmed into taking these drugs. Gotta have a drug, gotta have a pill. You ain't right, you ain't normal. The best days that I had ever was functional was when I was on medicine, 17, 18 years old. While I was still on medicine, I had a bank account. I always had $1,000 in the bank account. I had a driver's license. I had my shit together. I think it was 18, going on 19. They said, Paxil, we're going to put you on Paxil, see how that works for you. I felt like a fucking zombie, right? I wasn't digging it. So I quit. I quit going that route. I was tired of sitting on a couch. I was tired of telling somebody my problems. I gave up on the whole notion. Until now, I've fought with myself the past 20, 30 years. get help, be the better you, take something for your ADD, do something about it. I'm a functioning ADD survivor. Um, I may not be the best version of myself, but I'm trying. And I work a 9 to 5. I've got a little money in the bank. I've got a couple grand. It's not enough, but it's better than the person I've been before. We've got a roof over our house. We got a house in Powder Springs. We got a bunch of nice, beautiful animals. Um, Me and my wife are happy. The bills get paid. That's big for me. That's big for us. We live paycheck. We live check to check, all through my raising my children's lives. I'm just finally at age now where I can help. I can give back and do a little more. So my son was about 16 or 17. No, excuse me. Let me backtrack. When my mother-in-law, before she passed away, her whole life she was in the pills. But when she contracted cancer, they gave her an exuberant amount of drugs. This was my downfall. They gave her a shoebox full of, what do they call it? The fentanyl nose spray. Started off the fentanyl nose spray. If you haven't done that, terrible. Um, they gave her a bottle of, a huge bottle of morphine that was in the fridge, very large, right? Um, Shoebox of fentanyl, the whole thing of morphine, 100 milligram morphine pills, Percocet Roxy's, da 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 da. What usually happens to someone that's like me, they get into something, especially if it's free, starts out small, always gets, your habit always gets worse, and you need more and you need more, and that's where it starts out. So I went on from there to snorting Roxy's. Uh, First, I was into rolls on the weekends and smoking bud to Percocets. I didn't do my first Percocet till I was my late 30s. A friend of mine turned me on, and started on those and did Roxy's. Well, first, before that, I did a lot of rolls. Quit the rolls, started doing Roxy's. Downfall. It. I was a functioning addict, crazy as it sounds, for many, many years. I would get off of work and go get a Roxy 30 and snort it. I did this for years and years and years until I went to jail for spanking my kids. Then I met Mike Adams. When I met this guy, he was shooting up heroin. He got me a job. We were now working together. I'm watching him loaded every day. I'm going to his house, and he's hooking me up a pill. We lived together first, but then we were just working together. We were best friends. We were very tight. He was there when I had nobody. Like I said, I moved in with him. He got me a job. We were best friends. And like the same old story goes, he was shooting up, and he had this girlfriend, and she was moving to Florida, and he still had probation back here, and she had cheated on him. They were an off and on thing. They were boyfriend girlfriend. They knew each other since they were literally kids. She moved to Florida, asked him to go with her. He didn't go. They fought. They had it out. One weekend we were together, and he was doing it all. Smoking crack. He was prescribed Xanax and some weak pain pills. I can't remember. And he liked to do heroin. I hadn't experienced with this yet. They get in a fight. Yada yada yada. They're having it out. He's smoking crack. He's taking Xanax. He's doing this. He's shooting up. He's out on the lake with a friend of his, and he stopped breathing right there. take him to the hospital. They got him hooked up to machine, right? And they just basically got his heart pumping. There's no brain activity. He's dead, but they're pumping his heart and keeping him what they call alive, so his families can come from out of state and say their goodbyes. I show up there, me and the two guys that we all work together show up, and his mom says, I want you to go give Mike a kiss on the head goodbye, okay? He was a bald headed dude, right? So I'm with my wife. My wife came in and she bugged out on this. We go in there and I kiss him on the head, and he's already dead, right? He's hooked up to machine, but like I said, there's no brain activity. I'm kissing a dead guy. That shit haunted me for a long time. I had dreams of that for a long time. Us kind of people, we have chemical imbalances, and it's very hard for us to sleep. To this day, I have to eat a handful of sleeping pills to sleep every night, or I won't. Look around. Manic depressive, it comes with the territory. It's part of it. That fucked me up in the head. So he left us. He left me. We were at a very tight bond together. Okay. Here's my, how would you put it? I guess everyone has a, what's the word I'm looking for? Their, what the fuck is the word I'm trying to describe? Their epiphany, anyways, here's my story, how I got to learn and know for a fact that there's a God, okay? As good as me and Mike become friends, right? When I first met him, we were in K-Pod together, okay? We become, we immediately clicked. We were in there a couple months together, and those couple months, you click up with somebody, and y'all were, inseparable. The day I got out of jail, he came and picked me up that night, took me out. The following weekend, he took me out. The weekend, he took me out. We hung out. We were close. We were buds, He and like I said, he went out on us. So it started me on a bad trend. That's when I, through another person I had met, watched him shooting up at work, and didn't do it for a while, and didn't do it, but watched him day in, day out, watched him day in, day out. One day I fucking fold. I go through that, been there, done that, okay? I damn near lost my fucking arm. Let me show you what fucking shooting up has done for me. Let me see, I've got a fucking hole in my arm. You see the scar? I don't know if you can get it good or right, but I can't see where. Let me see. There it is. There it is. I got an infection. I went to the hospital. I had it, and it was getting bigger and getting bigger. I had an abscess, and I couldn't take it anymore. I'm at work one day, and I tell the guy that's who taught me how to do this to let's go in the bath. Well, we had another friend, our supervisor at work was friends with Mike too, but he's a Christian guy now, doesn't do nothing. I tell the other guy, you need to help me drain this thing. Can we go in the bathroom? And we go in the bathroom and try, and don't even care if the other guy, knows at this point. And we go in the bathroom, he sticks a needle in, tries to drain it. It ain't draining. This is going on like day 5, right? This thing's enormous. This huge knot on my arm, and I'm scared. I go to the hospital. And when I went in, I was wearing a Rocks Fentanyl 50 patch when I went in, right? And I get in there, and the nurse's eyes, her eyes lit up, and she's like looking at me like freaking and shit. And they rushed me right back, which is, usually you'll sign some papers, and you'll sit and wait in the ER. They took me right back immediately, took my shirt off, started pumping me full of fluids, um, um, and were telling me that in another day or two, not only was I going to lose my arm, but if I possibly made it past that I would be dead. Scared the shit out of me, right? Did it scare me enough? Not yet. Okay, so this thing was so big and so gnarly. You could literally take a Coca-Cola can and stick it in my arm without even touching the walls. That's how big this thing is. Okay, after surgery, my wife they stuffed it full of gauze pads, right? And the gauze pads had to be changed out every day. Well, we're talking about a hole in my hand, in my arm, right? We're talking about if you could even possibly imagine how painful that would be to stick gauze pads and fill the hole up every day and then change them out every day. My wife did this for a couple of weeks, and I would scream in like bloody murder. I can't even describe how painful it was. Right, this shit was insane. Like I said, the hole was big enough. You could look in my hand. You could look down at my arm. Gnarly shit. Did I learn my lesson? Dumbass, no. So fast forward some time, and now I go to a buddy of mine's house. I'm on methadone. I've been on methadone a couple of years, and I'm doing methadone, but I'm shooting up every so often behind my wife's back. Okay, I'm getting off of work. I'm going during times that she don't know about, and going over there shooting up. Okay, we've gotten to a point now to where she's not cool with it. If I'm caught, we're getting a divorce. She ain't the one to be playing with. Okay, through her eyes, we've been married 22 years. She's given me her life. I'm destroying not only my life, but her life in her eyes. So if I get caught, it's not only ass for me, but any and everyone around. She's going to do whatever she can to put my ass behind bars, to fuck me up, and the worst possibility. And I can't blame her. So I go over to my buddy's house one day after work, and no, I shouldn't be there, but I am. If you've been there, you've been there. I hit one time. I'm cool. Average chunky shit, never enough. I'm cool, but I'm starting a new job, so I'd like to get good and high, right? My buddy gives me one. I bag up what I got. I'm taking with me. I've just done one. Now my buddy's done one, and he's done made a really big one, right? Um, so he says, give me your rig. I said, okay, I give him my rig, and he draws back, whatever, nice little bit, okay, and says, here you go. And I'm thinking he's saying, wait till lunch type shit, right? Well, I'm jugging me, I can do another one. Well, what I didn't understand, what he didn't tell me was, while I did mine, he done one, but he done put like a G in there. So what he was giving me was way too much to do, more than enough to do one time for your first time. I hit it, and I fell out, dropped to the fucking floor. I wake up and I'm sitting in a chair. Oh, no, I don't even remember if I was in a chair or on the ground when I come to tell you the truth. But I try to stand up and I fall and I'm weak at the knees and I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck just happened? He said, you dumb motherfucker, you done went out. You went out on me, you son of a bitch. I told you not to do that fucking shot. That was for lunch. The fuck are you thinking, man? And like he was freaked the fuck out. I said, what are you talking about, dude? What? He said, dude, you fucking went out. You quit breathing. You fucking dropped dead right on my fucking floor, dude. I hit you with a fucking can of Orcan and didn't do shit, dude. I fucking hit you with the second can and you're fucking, if we didn't have two cans in our can, you would be dead. And I look at him and I'm freaked, I'm scared, I'm tripping, keep in mind now, my phone can ring any second. My wife calls, I don't answer the phone, police is coming to where I am. Let me put it that way, okay? Not a good scene. I go to stand up, I'm delirious. I say, oh my God, I'm starting this new job. I got to go to this job, right? I get up and I go to leave, and I'm not feeling right, but I don't, I got to go to work. I get about 2 or 3 miles up the street, right? And I've just become, I'm sick. I'm dope sick, and if you don't know, we're talking near death dope, dying dope sick, okay? I pull over to the gas station, I have to shit, I go in the bathroom, thank God the door was unlocked because I would have shit my pants right there. I barely make it in the bathroom, I shit bloody murder, I sit there in diarrhea for a good minute, get up, get out of there, come out to my car, and I can't drive. When you hit the Narcan, I'm on methadone, right? When you hit the Narcan, it wipes out all the dope in you. So it annihilated the methadone that I have in me. Well, without the methadone I have in me, I'm the same dope sick, if not 10 times worse than the worst heroin junkie there is. Methadone is like deadly, death ill sick. You're supposed to be in a hospital after you get Narcan, okay? Here I am driving around, and I can't even explain to you the horror it was from being behind the wheel. It was scary. It was nightmarish. Passing cars, my vision, my everything. I can't imagine like being near death and trying to drive yourself to the hospital. Imagine that you're literally about to die and you get in a car and drive to the fucking hospital. What am I thinking? So I drive back to Buddy's house. At this point, I know forget work, fuck that, and even fuck my wife. I have to go to jail, so what? Whatever. I'm going back to my buddy's house because something ain't right. Get back to my buddy's house, and I'm just, I'm acting like a little bitch. I'm not gonna deny it. If you haven't been there, it's very hard to put into words what I was going through. But the dope sick was the kind where you can't act right, you can't be normal, you can't be around no one that don't know because it's not possible. Okay, so now any minute my phone can ring and my wife can call and I'm done for. I go in there, I play the bitch card, da 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 da. I had given him my methadone for the day traded out for the heroin. So at first he's not giving it back to me. I'm telling him I gotta have fixed. You gotta have fixed. So he's telling they look it up online, should find out that you have to wait some time before you do any more dope. You're borderline, from having a heart attack and dying. So I had to sit around, and it took an hour or two before getting my methadone back. Took my methadone, took a couple hours, but during that time, the transition to going back into normal, it scared me enough. At 48 years old, was 47 there. That was my wake-up call. That was it. Okay, plain as day. Call it God, call it the universe, call it whatever you want. I knew at that point that the next time that I play with it, I'm dead. I might as well I might as well plan on doing it this time because the dope is cut and it's It's dangerous. It's a gnarly thing to be dealing with this day and age. And it was enough to make me want to put down, not only put it down, but put it down for good, forever. To tell people the horrors of it, what can come of this. It really will bring you death or prison. I've escaped jail more than I have a guardian angel. There's no doubt about it, people. Okay? No doubt about it. I have escaped getting caught from the police while having drugs on me more times than I can count. I've done despicable shit. Before this guy, my last dope man, was being watched by police. I leave his house one day. I'm driving. I'm coming over there on my lunch break. Come in, get a bag. I'm leaving. I've just in the short amount of time that I leave my dope man's house, I'm not 2 miles down the road. I've already got a shot ready, made up. Cop pulls me over. I had to squeeze the shot out. I eat the fucking bag. Police says, you alright? You on medication, son? No, sir. You sure you're not medicated, son? You sure you don't need some help? He'd done everything he could, tried to trip me up. I didn't fold. Went on about my business, but knew he was being watched. Next day, Junkie's got to have his dope. So I sent my wife and another guy I'm selling to. I'm selling this guy 10 Roxys a couple times a week. He's helping support my habit. I send my wife and this guy over there. I'm across the street watching out for him. They get pulled over, pulling out of there. They get pulled, the cops pull them over, 2 cops. They know, they search my wife, nothing. My wife took it and put it in the back seat in this guy's shoes. The cops looked through the car, didn't think of the shoes, told this guy, we know, he didn't fold. This guy, didn't even know about the heroin in his backseat, the driver that sent over there. My wife had gone to get him the Roxys. He had to eat them all, 8 to 10 Roxys at one time. Police gave him the drug field sobriety test, told him that he was intoxicated, that he could, if he could get a ride out of there, he could leave. But if he dared try driving off, DUI was fucked. They didn't have anything because he ate them all. They think he ate them all, and I don't know what the hell they were thinking. Okay, I'm in the other end of this parking lot watching this unfold. Okay, I wait till then. Okay, we had our stories collaborated. This guy tells me, I tell him, okay, you're picking my wife up from work. I'm late from running from work. That's the story. Cop calls me, sir, Mr. Ruskoff, I've got Christina here, and we're trying to see why would she be with this guy going down the road. I said, oh, because he's a friend of mine. He's picking her up. I'm late from work. He picked her up from work and's taking her home for me. Had the story collabed. Second the cops pull off, I drive up. I've already talked to my wife. I know there's dope in the shop. I jump out, go in his back seat, grab the dope, take off. He said, what are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? The cops just left, you're going to get him. He don't even know there's heroin in his back seat. I grabbed the dope, grabbed my wife, took off. When I was younger, I had probation. I was on probation. I went and did boot camp. When I got out, I had a pending case. I already had shit going on. I had a pending case. I didn't go back to I went to probation. First time I reported, they locked me up for dirty weed. I never went back. Some scouting, whatever the fuck you call it. I see my probation officer a year later, and I see her at a Mexican restaurant. We meet eyes, we lock eyes. I'm like, oh fuck. I was 25, I think. We didn't still have cell phones. She gets up, goes to the bathroom. I know she's going to use the phone. I tell the waiter, I need to get out. Let me pay you to let me out. Let me out the back. I gave the waiter $5, the bartender $5. Just sitting in a bar, Mexican restaurant. My probation officer in there eating with her family. I give the bartender $5. I go under the bar and out the back door. I come around the back of the corner. There's 2 police cars sitting in front of them. She went and called police. I got out of there just in time. That wasn't the only time it's happened to me. I've been to a couple of those kind of, for instances. I got arrested with a girl that had acid. Me and this girl, my stripper girlfriend at the time's best friend, she was 8.5 months pregnant. Me and her were going to see my girlfriend at work one day. We get pulled, me busting a Huey. They search us. I have a bowl of weed on my pocket. No big deal if I get arrested. They find acid on her. The cop comes over, walks over to the window, and puts the acid on the windshield to where I can see it. I start crying. Think I'm getting busted. I had sold this girl the acid. They put us both in the cop car together and take us down to the police station, me and a girl, and put us in a holding tank together. I said, this is kind of shit can't be. I've never still heard or seen to this day. They put me and a girl in a cop car together, took us down the station. We get in there, we're talking. She's saying, I still got some of that shit on me. I said, fuck, there's a camera right there. I'm thinking this whole thing's staged to begin with. When we got pulled over, and they found the acid in that parking lot, it turned into a war zone. Detectives, the works, 20 some odd cops and whatever. They found that acid. They thought they had something huge. Um, she took it like a champ. We went in the cop car together down to the jail. We get down to the jail. She says, I still got some of that shit on me. I gotta get rid of it. I said, oh fuck, girl. She's 8.5 months pregnant. Keep in mind, she pulls it out. I help her get rid of it. And so my life's been one story after another. It's been my pleasure, and I would love to contact with each and every one of you. Palabra.